When most people think about Landman, they think about oil rigs, backroom deals, and high-stakes negotiations. They think about power plays, billion-dollar gambles, and the tension between corporate ambition and personal loyalty. But beyond the rigs and the boardrooms, there's something else happening in the background of the show, something quieter, but just as powerful. Landman is painting a picture of rural Texas towns that are slowly crumbling under the weight of the very industry that keeps them alive. The show doesn't always say it outright, but it shows it constantly. From the dusty roads to the aging buildings, from the struggling local businesses to the strained public services, Landman captures a reality that feels uncomfortably authentic. These towns aren't booming oil utopias. They're fragile ecosystems. And every boom cycle comes with cracks that never fully heal. One of the most striking things about the series is how it contrasts wealth and decay. On one hand, you have massive oil contracts, corporate jets, and high-powered legal maneuvering. On the other, you have underfunded schools, outdated infrastructure, and communities that rely on temporary workforces who don't stay long enough to invest emotionally. That imbalance is intentional. It highlights a central tension. The industry generates enormous wealth, but that wealth doesn't always stabilize the places where it operates. The roads in these towns are a subtle but recurring symbol. Heavy trucks constantly tear through them, hauling equipment and materials. You can almost feel the strain. The same roads that enable the oil economy are the ones being worn down by it. It's a metaphor for the towns themselves, built to support industry, but rarely repaired with the same urgency as the rigs. Housing is another layer the show touches on. When oil is booming, temporary housing fills up fast. Rents spike. Long-time residents get pushed to the margins. And when the boom slows down, what's left behind are half-empty developments and economic instability. Landman doesn't turn this into a documentary lecture. Instead, it weaves it into character struggles, financial stress, job insecurity, tension within families. Even healthcare and emergency services feel stretched thin. The dangers of oil work are real, and the show doesn't shy away from accidents or the physical toll on workers. But what stands out is how ill-equipped these rural areas sometimes seem to handle large-scale crises. There's an underlying message. The infrastructure hasn't kept pace with the risks. And then there's the social fabric of these towns. Landman portrays communities that are deeply proud but increasingly fractured. Longtime locals resent corporate outsiders. Workers who come for the money often leave just as quickly. Trust erodes. Relationships become transactional. The sense of permanence, of generational stability, feels fragile. What makes this portrayal compelling is that the show doesn't villainize the towns or romanticize them. It presents them as complicated spaces caught in a cycle. Oil brings opportunity. Oil brings survival. But oil also brings volatility. And volatility doesn't just affect stock prices. It affects schools, marriages, friendships, and the physical landscape. Tommy's storyline often intersects with this theme. He operates at a level where decisions are strategic and financial, but the consequences of those decisions ripple outward. A delayed payment, a risky expansion, a legal maneuver. These aren't abstract moves. They translate into paychecks, layoffs, and community tension. The show subtly asks, who really absorbs the cost when big risks fail? Even the visual tone reinforces the idea of slow decay. Wide shots of barren land, aging storefronts, faded signage, they create a mood of endurance rather than prosperity. These towns survive. But surviving isn't the same as thriving. What Landman ultimately portrays is a paradox. Rural Texas towns depend on oil. It fuels their economies, funds their livelihoods, and defines their identity. But that same dependency makes them vulnerable. When infrastructure is built around a single volatile industry, resilience becomes harder to maintain. And that's the quiet brilliance of the show. Beneath the drama of corporate maneuvering, it tells a deeper story about place, about communities stretched thin, about progress that feels uneven, and about the cost of building an economy on something that's always one market swing away from collapse. Beyond the rigs, Landman isn't just about oil. It's about the towns that carry its weight, and the cracks that are getting harder to ignore.